been, I think, a pretty long week for me. So it's nice to come back and talk with my two lovely co-hosts about hockey, Miss Grace and Miss Alessia. How are you guys?
Well, the past week has felt like a million years. I feel like the last time we recorded an episode was like 3 NHL seasons ago. I don't know about
Yes.
anybody else.
I feel the exact same way.
Whenever school starts, we definitely start to feel time to get a lot more slower than it usually is. But yeah, we're going to start off with the NWHL again because it's always good to kind of, like we said last episode, get women's hockey out there. And I think it's the perfect opportunity for us to continue talking about it. So we're going to talk about the Metropolitan Riveters just quickly, about them leaving Lake Placid, and Grace is going to take over for this part and also give us a preview of the Isabel Cup.
The Wraparound with Grace,
Alessia,
and Maryuri.
Yeah, so for the NWHL, they've had a really exciting week. I think their stream of the T6 game reached 1.7 million views the other day, which was really exciting. That is a lot of people on a Twitch stream. But the Metropolitan Riveters did have to leave about a week ago because of COVID. There was a few people on the team who got diagnosed, and then it just kind of got uncontrollable from there. So to prevent a further outbreak, they left Lake Placid. Everybody's going to be like, oh, look, the Canadian girls are talking about Toronto again. But we have a good reason this time because they're first seed, they're 4 wins in a row, and they're leading the league in goals with 21. And to put that in perspective, next up is Boston, who only has 15 goals. So they're 6 ahead of the second place goal scorer. So it is pretty exciting for them right now, especially after Sunday's game where they shut out the Connecticut Whales 6-0, which is their highest scoring game in team history. And Mackenzie McNeil had a pair of goals in that victory, and now they will play either the Boston Pride or the Buffalo Beauts in the semifinals, and that'll be decided tonight on Monday. So by the time you'll hear this, it'll already been figured out. So tell us how that went. And the championship game is on Friday. It's the Minnesota Whitecaps. That's who we're going to talk about next. And they are going to be playing the Connecticut Whales tonight to determine who will be the number 2 seed heading into the playoffs. And Toronto handed them their first loss of the season the other night, and they are definitely a tough opponent with incredible speed, size, and strength, which has been on display this entire tournament, so it'll be exciting to see how they do this week. The Connecticut Whales will either be the 2nd or 3rd seed, and from what I watched the other day, their biggest issue is puck possession. So in the T6 game, they kind of threw the puck around a lot, and they kind of lost it in the neutral zone. So if they just kind of tighten up those passes and work more on, knowing where their players are, I think that they can be definitely an outstanding opponent in the next couple of games. Now, the Boston Pride were unable to get their offense going until their second game against the Buffalo Beauts, where they shut them out 6-0. So another 6-0 shutout in this tournament. I feel like that's kind of, the NWHL's lucky number right now. But they really improved in their last game on Sunday, and they showed what kind of team they can be, and they're offensively strong and ready for the semis. Now, the Buffalo Beauts, hold on, last one, we're going, are currently in last place in terms of points, but their game against Boston will determine what seed they are in the playoffs. So they aren't a terrible team. It's the same situation as the Whales. Sometimes big losses, they just kind of happen. They get handed to you in tournaments and regular season games, whatever. But the most impressive thing about the Beauts, which is Marjorie's favorite team, I think we should mention that just because of their name.
Because of their name.
Is how their defense controls literally the whole team. So with some teams, if your defense is off, your offense makes up for it. But with this team, their defense really sparks their offense. They do have the ability to regroup quickly and tighten both the offense and defense really fast, which helps the offense focus on their main job, which is scoring goals. This week is the Isabel Cup finals on Thursday and Friday. So Thursday, February 4th, the number 4 seed will play the number 1 seed, which is the T6 at 5:30. And the number 3 seed will play the number 2 seed at 8 p.m. And these are all in Eastern Standard Time. And then on Friday, we have the finals, which will be aired on NBCSN at 7 p.m. And that's amazing. That is your NWHL roundup.
Well, yeah, thank you to our special insider Grace for giving us all our amazing NWHL
It was a lot of
information.
It was a lot of work, guys.
No, but it was great, and I hope all of our listeners really appreciate, some info that they probably might not have known if they haven't been keeping up with the 2-week tournament. And so it's exciting to see what's going to happen this week, and it's super exciting to see that the final is going to be aired on NBCSN. But yeah, great stuff there. And it'll definitely be exciting to see who wins that coveted Isabel Cup. Now, moving on to our next piece of news. Former Detroit Red Wings goalie Jimmy Howard announced his retirement. So after 14 seasons, Jimmy Howard has officially retired. He became a free agent this past offseason, but didn't end up signing anywhere. He spent his whole career with the Red Wings and finishes with a 2.62 goals against average, which is pretty good. Yeah, 246 wins and 24 shutouts. He didn't obviously resign with Detroit, and he didn't resign with anyone else. I guess probably he didn't want to sign with anyone else but Detroit. But I think it was a good point in his career to call it. Detroit have some goaltenders right now that are right now in the lead to take that main spot. But once Jimmy Howard did become a free agent, Jonathan Bernier was expected to take over as a starter for the Red Wings. But as of right now, I think he's been out of the lineup. The Wings haven't been doing
We're just gonna
well.
send all your good vibes to the Wings, like for a win.
Yes, they've been struggling. I mean, we've spoken about the Red Wings quite a bit on the show when we had the radio show, and we spoke about them and their problems, and we talked about what they needed to do in order to get back to the team that they once were.
And have they done any of that?
No. Safe to say they haven't taken our advice. No.
Listen to the wraparound, guys. Come on.
Step up your game, and then I'm trust you'll get all those wins. Even though Bernier has been the one who's gotten their actual 2 wins in regular time. Thomas Greiss, unfortunately, has only had losses and has not had a win so far this season. So my question was how will that go? So how will Jonathan Bernier be in net for the Wings? And I'm assuming, since he's the one who got those 2 wins for them, that he's probably the right choice for the Red Wings. For whatever reason, the reason I can't find right now is that he's not in Grice's right now, their primary goaltender. But they also have Calvin Pickard, who was with the Avalanche, right? If I'm not mistaken. And so they have some other options. It's just, I can't.
When you said that Jonathan Bernier was out and was the only one who got their 2 wins sent me.
Of course.
Yeah, it's not looking too well, especially if you look at it from that perspective.
They can only go up from here.
Yes.
That's the message we're sending. We're sending messages of support.
Yes.
You can only go up.
I mean, Detroit is our unofficial podcast team, because we
just like talking about them, but it's more like, this is what you can improve on.
Yeah.
Nice. We don't hate Detroit.
No,
I think
we don't.
We need to make that clear.
Yeah,
we do not hate Detroit.
Don't think that, please.
It's a matter of us feeling bad.
I would say pity, but pity sounds so
condescending
and sad. And it's not like we're professional coaches or anything, or consultants. I think everybody just wants Detroit to succeed at this point, especially at the rate, or the position that they've been in for these past few years. We have to see if Jonathan Bernier comes back in net for Detroit. Maybe he'll be the difference maker for the team. Who knows? But as of right now, Greiss is not getting the job done. But yeah, Jimmy Howard announced his retirement, gonna now go relax with his family, enjoy his time off. And I think he should be proud of the career that he left behind him. And I know that Detroit and the hockey universe will definitely feel lost.
Yeah, he's a goalie that honestly has accomplished so much at all the levels. Like, I think I'd be here all day reading out how many things he's achieved, at all levels.
But yeah, it'll be exciting to see what happens with Detroit, especially their goaltending, and see if they can get their ducks in a row, as I said before we started this show, and see what they can kind of salvage from this season. And then Mr. Alexis Lafreniere, and he finally scored his first NHL goal. Don't remember the day. Let's look at my calendar. So January 28th, if you guys want to know the exact day, if you're if you guys are big fans. But he scored his first NHL goal versus the Buffalo Sabres, 2 minutes and 47 seconds into overtime. And this is a fun fact if you did not know, but Alexis Lafreniere became the first number 1 pick to score his first goal in overtime. And I got that off of TSN.
I love little just tidbits of information like that. That's what keeps me going.
Isn't that cool? I never knew that was even
cool.
I guess a metric, you could say.
People keep track of everything. It's incredible.
I was reading this TSN article and I was like, I want to know whoever wrote this article, what they did or what they searched up to get this piece of information.
Listen, if you go to the NHL records site, I was in it for hours today. I was doing research for an upcoming article and it was incredible. Like I was in there for 3 hours and I was just lost in hockey facts. Like I didn't even know where to start to search. But once you do, it's insane.
There's just so many
Yeah.
different statistics that they have. I remember I was looking to see if Jimmy Howard, like where he ranked in certain things. And then I was under the goalie, section. And they had so many different sections for goalies, like wins, losses, goalies between a certain era, before this era, after this era. And I was like, this is a lot of information. I don't know if I have the time or patience to do this, but unlike me, Grace does.
It's my literal job. So
But yeah, so the number one pick of last year's draft, or last year. Yeah, I'm lost in time.
I don't know what day it is.
Of last year's draft, finally got his first NHL goal. I know a lot of people were waiting for that, and I'm sure he definitely was waiting for that as well, because when you're new in the league, that's all you probably can think about. And I know that most players don't get their first goal because they think about getting their first goal so much. And so it's exciting to finally see him get his first goal, see how he does and where he lands with his odds in the Calder Trophy. Like we talked about a couple weeks ago, his teammate, how do you pronounce his last name?
Shesterkin?
Like we said in a couple episodes before, he's actually above Alexis Lafreniere for the Calder. Enough news talk, because we were very professional there, as you can obviously tell. Now we're
always professional.
We're always professional.
Always.
We're gonna have our open discussion time. It's like those circles that you would make in kindergarten as a class and just talk about things. So that's what we're gonna do. I hope you guys.
Which is exactly where we are in our lives right now.
Kindergarten. I wanted to start again. So I know you guys are probably tired of this topic, but there's just so many new things that get added to this drama, to this saga, as I wrote down, that you can't avoid it, that you can't not talk about it. So if you didn't already guess it, we're going to talk about Dubois and Tortorella again.
This drama's never going to end.
It's never ending.
People need to let this part of it go. Not the whole thing, because I quite enjoy talking about it. Like, stop pitting the player and the coach against each other because they're apart now. Anyway. Continue on, Marjorie. I had to get that out there because I'm one of the people who, when I saw this in the outline, went, more Torts and Dubois? Are you kidding?
It's just, I find it funny because, like always, I do my research to kind of come up with topics because I'm not an NHL knowledge machine off the top of my head. So when I was looking for more things to talk about, I came across this, and I came across the story of Dubois' agent basically saying that he wants Tortorella to stop talking about Dubois.
I love when agents get involved. Can I just put that as a side note? Because then everything feels so much more serious.
So when I saw this, I find it kind of funny. One, because it's kind of like a parent talking for their child, saying, stop making fun of my child, please and thank you. And then the second, it's kind of like, why say it now? Like Grace said, they're not together anymore. Dubois is not in Columbus. There's kind of no point to really continue this on. Even more interesting is that not Dubois, but Tortorella went on and had an interview with Miss Christine Simpson, who we love very, very much. And he basically was talking on that interview saying how today's players are a lot softer. And they can't really take as much criticism.
I was really hoping we weren't going to get into this.
I had to mention it. I had to. It's an integral part. It's a key part into this kind of conversation.
Oh,
I was reading it, and basically the one thing that stuck out to me that probably was the reason why Pat Brisson, who represents Dubois, kind of wasn't that crazy about what John Tortorella was saying, was because he thought that it made it difficult for Kekalainen, which is the GM of Columbus, to basically do his job. So basically to trade Dubois. Like, I don't know, like, just I think
no,
we're taking things, like, I don't know if maybe out of context would work here. There's going to be people talking. GMs just have to do their jobs anyways. I understand how the things that Tortorella said about Dubois could probably maybe make it harder for Kekalainen to trade him. And the agent also said that he would have liked if Torts basically handled the situation like Paul Maurice, which is now Dubois' new coach.
It's a whole other pot of soup over there.
That's a whole other story to tackle.
But you know that the NHL and all of its surrounding broadcasters are going to hop on the marketing train of Dubois and Tortorella reunited in the first matchup since Big blow up. And that'll be the biggest story of next season.
That's marketing heaven. That's like PR, like and heaven.
Public relations officers looked at this statement from Dubois' agent and went, yes.
This stuff is like not going to go away anytime soon. Like Maryuri said, once like the two teams face each other, it's going to be like all over the place. And there's definitely going to be some news stories coming out. Like this came out a week after he got traded. And it's like a whole big thing again.
And then, do you guys want another layer?
Oh God!
Please, let's get into the next layer.
This is the last layer in the interview. I don't know. I think this was a Sportsnet interview. I don't know if this was the interview with Christine Simpson, but he said, I coached Pierre-Luc Dubois like I coach every other player here, like any other player coming here, and like I'm going to coach Patrick Laine when he comes in here. The best I can do for the player is to be honest with him every day. So what I get from that little tidbit is that, so he said he coached Dubois like he does every other player, but I feel like that's kind of like a slight towards him. He's basically saying I coached him like every other player and clearly he didn't handle it, or clearly
you weren't special, you're just soft.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, like we've mentioned this so many times, like Tortorella has a type like of way that he coaches players, and you either take it or you don't. And you either succeed under his coaching style or you don't. But like, even just because Dubois maybe didn't like his style doesn't mean he's a soft player. Doesn't mean he's a bad player.
Exactly.
So this goes for any coach. It's not just Tortorella, right? Same. Like, I mean, we mentioned Mike Babcock before. That's another coach.
Another conversation.
We're not going to get into that this week. But I'm just saying.
But in all honesty, I have respect for Dubois' agent because he isn't wrong.
Mm-hmm. No,
like
he's
the fact
wrong.
that Tortorella keeps coming out here and saying all this stuff about a player, like of course coaches, GMs are going to talk. You're going to have like a misguided impression of this player before you even meet them, just because of what's going on in the media and what Tortorella's saying. So Dubois' agent isn't wrong, but also
I think
why?
I think like we're like past the point now, but I completely agree. Like if Tortorella keeps talking about Dubois in the way that he did, just with all like the rumors and stuff going around, of course it makes it hard on the GM to make a trade if the coach is saying stuff like that. But at the same time, like, we're past this now.
And it's not even like Tortorella is like any other coach who's like, my former players, I've coached them like this, or my past players. He's specifically naming Dubois in every statement that he talks about his coaching style.
And he's not even like well-spoken about it.
Yeah.
He just kind of like word vomits it out.
I mean, what NHL player or coach is well-spoken at this point? They all kind of just have the same.
Pierre-Luc Dubois was so eloquent on his interview 2 weeks ago.
Okay, we get it. You really loved his speaking.
I will protect you. I feel so bad that you've been yelled at.
But the one quote that I read that kind of like stood out to me was Pat Brisson said, from day one, John Tortorella wanted to expose Pierre-Luc Dubois.
Who knows how long this is going to go on for, because it's clearly gone on for a lot longer than it should have. Should have just ended as soon as Pierre-Luc Dubois had his interview. He got traded. Life goes on for everybody else. There's no more talking. But with it being Tortorella and it with being Dubois and Laine, two really high-profile players, of course something like this is going to happen. But we have to wait and see. Yes, Grace, what would you like to say?
We're going to be talking about this until
next week.
Until Tortorella retires. That was my first point. I was like, we're going to be talking about this until Tortorella retires. Haha, funny. And then I actually thought about it for a second. No, because once he retires, he's going to become an analyst for some sports channel somewhere. And then we're still going to be talking about this.
It'll definitely be interesting to see if he did become an analyst. But
And then it'll have happened so long ago that we'll be like, remember when in the NHL this blow up happened? We're going to be talking about this for the rest of our careers.
It'll be exciting though to talk about again and reminisce about the past and be like, oh, remember that time?
Imagine.
Remember that Wraparound episode where we spent 30 minutes talking about Dubois and Tortorella?
It's just, lots to talk about. Like I said, lots of layers. So we won't continue on with this drama anymore or this saga because it is quite a lot. And like I said, there's lots of layers to this. So I'm sure next week we'll have something else to add to this kind of pile of paperwork, if you want to call it. The next thing we're going to talk about is Jack Campbell. Oh, poor Jack Campbell.
Stop it. I forgot we were talking about this.
He's out for weeks due to
You just had to hit me with the two hardest subjects right in the row.
The Leafs had to call Hutchinson to replace Jack Campbell.
Stop it. I can't.
It is
take my headphones off. I can't do it.
A very sad loss.
I'm not.
I don't know. When they lost Dell to waivers, I think somebody said, who was it who said something about Hutchinson? Maybe it was Grace.
I think we both talked about Hutchinson and how
most definitely me being sad about Hutchinson.
The least case, the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
Well,
but it's the worst case scenario.
So apparently Campbell got injured, and I think the first game of that 2-game series against Calgary.
Yeah, he got a head injury.
Yeah,
I think it's a concussion.
Yeah,
and then
it occurred in the Toronto's 3-2 victory against the Flames.
Yeah,
thanks,
and
Alessia.
Kachuk was the one. And Kachuk
You're
then
welcome.
later piled on top of him, so that probably made it even worse. It's not like I'm blaming Kachuk here, but I kind of am at the same time.
But
Well,
we
he
just
is
want to
always
talk
around the net.
Michael Hutchinson is, I think, a wild card in the sense that there are times where, yes, he can put on a pretty decent game. And, it's like, okay, not bad. You could be our backup goaltender. But then at the rate that Jack Campbell was playing this season, it was just, too good to be true.
that's the worst part. It feels like we lost our starter.
Like something had to happen, didn't it? Something had to happen to this team.
It's like the Leafs were coming into the season with good goaltending, and then just went completely downhill so fast.
Like so fast.
Which is their one missing piece.
Yes, because in our next segment, we won't talk too much about the Leafs here because we are going to talk about them some more a little bit later.
We should just end it now. We should just move on.
Yes, okay. We're going to end it here, and then we're going to talk more about
Listen for the next 10 minutes, and then you'll hear us talk about the Leafs.
Yes. And then, so to distract us from this Leafs controversy, we're going to move on to our last talking point, which is
saving my sadness.
Which is once again the NWHL. And believe it or not, Barstool Sports and the NWHL, basically players on the NWHL calling out the Barstool Sports CEO because of things she had said, which I was surprised to realize that their CEO was a woman, which I had no idea.
What kind of woman would... Sorry. Okay. I hate that we're even talking about Barstool on this podcast.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
No words.
Choose your words wisely, Grace.
Barstool, I have it written out. I've pre-approved my statement. Barstool cannot support women's sports without getting their organization together and with the times. If they stop being racist, misogynistic, then they can come talk to us about it. But honestly, even if they fix themselves up, I personally will not support Barstool Sports. And how they've managed to gain the fame they have is astounding to me.
Yes. I'm not going to lie, and I'm going to be completely honest. There was a time in my life where I enjoyed listening to some episodes of Barstool Spitting Chicklets because they have, great hockey players come on the podcast. And I do enjoy the way that Paul Bissonnette conducts interviews and the way he asks questions and his researching techniques. And I'm not going to lie and say that I don't enjoy hearing him talk to players. The two other guys in the podcast who I do not know their names because I do not bother to learn their names, I have no feelings about because of obvious reasons. There's things that they have said and things that the way they talk, it's just not things that I like to listen to. But Paul Bissonnette is a little bit different. He's more of a hockey analyst, and he has a different approach to talking about things or interviewing guests. So there was a time in my life where I didn't enjoy talking to Spin Chicklets. Like Grace said, their whole company is built on just a pile of racism, sexism, misogyny, all these different layers that people avoid because they either produce content that they like to watch, because so many NHL players like to go on, the podcast or, interact with the accounts, which is upsetting because they should, learn to kind of tune it back a bit. I don't know. When I saw this and I saw that their CEO was a woman, and then she was then targeting NWHL players in a video, she called them out by name.
You can't get butthurt that people don't like you and then call them out on social media publicly.
And it's not even that. It's also her just like saying that like it's because she eventually wants to buy a franchise in the NWHL, and like that's how she backs it up.
Did you see
And
them
I'm like,
slam that down so hard? They were like,
Yeah.
we're currently not looking for any buyers.
And
Thank
honestly,
you."
like I applaud the NWHL for taking a stance and sticking to their values and their beliefs. Like it just shows that the league, supports the opinions and feelings of their players.
Yes, 100%. And it's nice to know that it's women sticking up for other women. In this case, obviously the woman in question is the CEO, but she's a different story. But I'm saying the players sticking up for one another, taking a stand, basically saying you can't say these things and then just assume it's okay, or, make people think it's okay because you're a woman in a position, in a really high position, and think it's okay. Some can say she's probably taking advantage of the position she's in because she might hit back with certain rebuttals. I'm also a woman, I'm the CEO of this company, which is awesome. It's awesome to see women in leadership positions, but not when you're tearing down other women to be, regarded as someone in a position of power. When I read this,
talking about Barstool.
Yeah, way, when I read this, I thought it was ridiculous that like these players, these pro athletes had to even defend themselves or protect themselves because she said that she was addressing her haters. Like, come on, like that's just ridiculous. So enough of that. We said what we had to say. Don't tear down other women, please. It's all about supporting one another. We're all in this together. It's about, building each other up and, being genuinely happy when you see someone else succeed in their career. So whatever, that's my two cents in that. Moving on, we're gonna bring back a very popular in our term, because it was the only special segment that we had last season, a very popular and special segment, The Way.
The Way
is who will finish at the top of the North Division, and we asked this on our lovely Twitter account. And of course, us being us, or me being me, actually, because Alessia and Grace don't really have the say on what the question should be.
We have no say at all on anything ever.
Not at all.
The two, hey, don't know, you guys get some say.
Yeah, okay, that's true.
Don't bash me. The two options for this question was, will it be Toronto or Montreal? So Alessia, as always, please tell us our results.
So 57% of our voters said Montreal, 43% said Toronto.
That's
and I'm honestly surprised.
But
I think it's going to be a really tight race.
Yes,
either way.
I 100% agree. I think,
I don't look at me like that, Grace.
I definitely don't. Okay, I kind of blame them, but I definitely also don't blame anyone who chose Montreal, because Montreal has been playing really well this season. I know it pains me to say it, Grace. I can see your face. They have been playing pretty well. And to be completely honest with you, and it's not because I'm a Toronto fan, I just didn't see this coming. Just where they were kind of last season. I mean, they did pretty well last season, but I didn't expect them to kind of make this big jump and be as prepared. Maybe Alessia like completely disagrees and like was like, no, I saw this coming. But me, I was like, I didn't think that they were going to be this tight of a race with Toronto. I honestly thought it was probably going to be one of the Alberta teams that was going to be up there.
Well, no, I understand your opinion, because like without all the acquisitions that they made on the off season, I can see why like you would say they wouldn't be that close to Toronto. But I mean, Mark Bergevin did one great job this offseason and it's paying off. The reason I'm surprised is just because
one great job this season and it's still paying off.
Don't
you know
listen
what?
to
You
her,
guys
Alessia. Don't
always
listen
say
to her.
you guys always say how I hate on Mark Bergevin, and I'm actually like saying some good stuff. And you guys are still getting mad at me.
Go ahead, Alessia.
Go
Sorry,
ahead,
I won't
Alessia.
talk now.
Finish your point.
No,
please.
I was just gonna say that like from the start of the season, Toronto was basically the favorite to win the division, and I can still see why they are. Like they're a good team.
I'm
So-
so glad that that's going to live on the internet forever. I'm going to
Her
pull that up when we're
talking
like
about
40.
Toronto. And it's okay. And listen, it's not even like I'm saying that like Montreal is like, oh, like I didn't expect Montreal to be that close to Toronto.
Look,
I didn't even
like-
think Toronto was going to be in the position that they are now. That's what I'm saying. That's what I meant by saying I thought it was going to be one of the like Alberta teams. I thought Toronto was going to be like a little bit lower. I didn't think they were going to be at the top either with Montreal.
honestly, I've been kind of like, I guess you could say disappointed with the Alberta teams as well. I thought Edmonton would be doing a lot better. Even
Yes.
Calgary, right?
Especially Calgary. That's the team I had in mind when I think
Yeah,
of
what
the
are they
Alberta
doing?
teams. Yeah, what's
Yeah.
going on there, Calgary?
I mean, the last game Montreal faced against them, Markstrom was amazing. Canadiens didn't score one goal. That was their worst game of the season, but they still created chances. So I think the Flames are sort of starting to like get it together. They did have an all players meeting before that game,
Yes,
so maybe
they
that
did.
kind of got some things going. But yeah, I just think it'll be a tight race. Like we saw the first game they played against each other,
Yes.
how close it was.
That was definitely an exciting game. And I think as soon as we saw that, or when we heard of the possibility at the very beginning, the possibility of having an all Canadian division, I think we all got super duper excited because of so many great games that were going to be played and are now being played.
Not only that, like we're going to be seeing Canadian teams and more than Canadian teams that we've seen in the past compete in the playoffs.
Exactly, yeah.
That's exciting, like nonetheless.
Yeah, so it's going to be exciting to see who fights for those top positions in the division and then see them in the playoffs as well. And it's exciting to kind of have these really fun rivalries and really big rivalries, especially the rivalry between us on this podcast, and see who's going to make it out on top. And who knows, maybe the Alberta teams will come out and surprise us and get back on top. Vancouver is tied with Montreal right now and they're playing really well too. So it'll be exciting to see who ends up at top, because at this point we don't even know because it's still pretty early in the season.
I just have to say that I have to hand it to Alessia and the people who voted for Montreal, because Toronto does have 3 games in hand. So
Yeah.
the fact that they're okay, I'm done now. But
doesn't
Now
say much.
I'll remember that.
the Ottawa Senators have 3 points.
Yes, I actually just saw that and I was quite surprised. I actually did not know that they only
Now,
had 3
Ottawa-
points.
Ottawa is sort of in a rebuild, but at the same time, they played pretty well against the Leafs.
Yes, they did. And that's why
I didn't think they would be this bad now. Like they made a really good name for themselves during that game.
I'm
exactly.
so
And that's why
displeased.
when the Leafs lost against Ottawa, wait, is that their only win? The one against the Leafs?
I think so. Let me check.
So exactly, that's why I was so extremely upset
I hate those.
that they lost against Ottawa.
So
Come
they
on.
have one. So they're 1-7-1. So
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah, their one win
that
is
was their only
against
win.
how nice.
And
You
they're
just had to bring that
do
up.
you
didn't
do you guys want to know their goal differential?
Never. Yeah.
Tell me, please.
It's -22.
I don't think I've ever heard of a goal differential that bad.
Is Detroit's even that bad? Like,
I'm gonna check.
Detroit is better than Ottawa right now because Detroit has 6
It's close.
points.
It's close. It's
What is it?
actually close. It's -15.
That's still a
So-
big gap, though, from -15 to -22.
arguably, the Detroit Red Wings, a team who is just starting a rebuild and who is not expected to be good for at least 2 years, is twice as good as the Ottawa Senators. That's cheered me up.
Ottawa. And to think Matt Murray's on that team. We spoke about him during
Oh, see, now I'm sad again.
the preview, remember? And we spoke about that trade. Either way, above the Ottawa, so literally Vancouver, Winnipeg, Edmonton, Calgary, Toronto, Montreal, that's going to be an exciting little race for the North Division. Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised we didn't get too much into this Montreal-Toronto stuff. I'm surprised none of us really got too upset, but I know Grace was getting upset.
Did you see my face the entire
Yeah.
time?
Yes, and it was my job to kind of, calm us down a bit since we clearly get so heated on this show.
And we're on a time limit today. So
Yes, we are. So it's time to move on. And what better way to end off this very nice episode, because every episode is nice, but this one's nice too, is Grace and Alessia's Player of the Week. So, Grace, I think this is the first time I'm making you go first, so you go first.
I think I've gone first every time, so I'm going to pass this off to Alessia.
Oh, then I'm
All right, I'll
confused.
start.
Either way, someone go first.
Anyways, I'll just say my two players are Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl.
See, she has two. She didn't listen. I listened. I
No.
picked a player.
Players of the week is what I saw in the doc. And
It
I
says
couldn't
player.
choose between. Oh, sorry. Okay. That's my bad.
Singular.
Either
My
way,
bad.
they're good picks.
Either
They're good
way,
picks.
I couldn't choose between McDavid and Draisaitl, so
Okay, wait, can I
I'm
talk
going
about
with both of them.
Draisaitl because he was mine?
Sure, go
You
ahead.
Okay.
can take
sure.
McDavid and I'll take Draisaitl.
Okay, so either way, both players in their last game against the Senators, who we sort of
Just
spoke
spoke
about, and how they have not been doing great at all. Those two players combined for 11 points in one game. So Draisaitl had
insane.
6 points, which was 6 assists, and McDavid had 5 points, and I guess Grace will get into that a bit. McDavid leads the league in points, with Draisaitl right behind him, and also in goals. So, I mean, when you think about Edmonton, as much as they have these two players, we kind of hinted at it before. I'm expecting them to perform a bit better in the future because they haven't really wowed me yet. And they currently sit 5th in the North Division with a 5-6-0 record. So, hopefully they turn things around pretty quickly.
Edmonton is one of those teams where, like, if you're with a bunch of buddies and you're talking about the NHL, somebody brings up Edmonton and you're always like, why aren't they doing well?
Exactly.
Like, that's the conversation you have every time you talk about Edmonton. But I did pick Leon Draisaitl this week because, as Alessia mentioned, he had 6 assists. And we all know he's good, but he just kind of keeps showing it. So with that performance, he was 1 assist away from tying the record for most assists in a game.
Mhm.
And so lots of players like Paul Coffey, Mario Lemieux, and Doug Gilmour have gotten 6 assists. But the only 2 players who have ever gotten 7 is Wayne Gretzky, who got it 3 times, and Billy Taylor. But it's still a pretty impressive game by Draisaitl, who is also the former MVP.
Yeah, and I think
Yes.
one reason I think why everybody kind of just loves Draisaitl is because, I don't know, his personality, it comes off kind of humble and genuine, and it's not braggy, and he's such an amazing player, but like you wouldn't tell it like by the way you talk to him. I'm sure like he would be like, yeah, I'm like okay at hockey. I feel like that would kind of, I feel like that would be the vibe.
And that's probably because he's playing with McDavid all the time. So like McDavid's always in the spotlight, but like, hey, he's just as good. He's just as like effective on that team.
And I'm sure he doesn't care. I'm sure he probably appreciates it. I'm sure he's like, I'm just doing my job. I'm getting my goals and assists, and no one's talking about me. I'm living the life. 2 great picks. Of course, you guys would choose the same players.
Why have we been doing this? We need to
Yeah,
like
we
confirm
have.
You
beforehand.
guys keep doing that every
We
week.
have to actually communicate before the show and be like, this is who I picked.
I think the first week we
players.
both chose Nick Suzuki, and we're like,
I think so.
I think
Yeah.
you guys even chose the same team. It's been too much. So please have different opinions. Have fights, please. I'm begging.
Hey, you made us be rivals again this week. You did a good job with
Yeah.
that. I knew that's why you picked that question, was because you wanted to spice it up a little bit.
Oh yeah, stir the pot. That's my job. Either way, good picks for this week. And all of you guys listening, keep eyes and keep tabs on those players. Tweet us, DM us, talk to us wherever you can, and let us know your thoughts on your favorite players of the week, people that you want to see play more, people you expect more of. Who knows? Whatever you want. Alongside players. Tweet us, DM us, comment on our pictures, anything. We love the interaction with you guys. So keep it going with us. Keep listening. Thanks, guys, for being here with us. It's always exciting to talk about these stuff, and I'm sure we'll have another great one next week, and hopefully there's some more layers to that delicious Dubois Tortorella drama.
I hope not.